Good morning, YouTube. Pass the prop coming at you guys. This is technically our Wednesday show, but we're doing it on Thursday. Joined as always by my guy Stu. What's good, man?
Yeah, no, it's weird. We haven't said good morning since
I know.
MLB season last year, not even this MLB season. So it's been a little while since we've hit you guys in the morning, but obviously had to move things around every once in a while. So shout out to anyone joining us at this early morning time. And as always, if you're tuning in later, you got any questions, you're mad you missed it, you had that 1 p.m. alarm set yesterday and nothing happened, drop your comments in the YouTube comments or DM us, right? We will answer all questions. We'll talk betting pretty much 24/7. So if you're not here with us live, don't worry. We still got you covered.
Yeah, and then Terrence already bringing it up right away. This is an ugly game, man. But your boy's got to start two dudes in this game. I might have to start two guys on the Denver side. I ain't even getting to the Kansas City side. In my number 2 league, I'm rolling against Kelsey and Mahomes. He rolled with that stack. So it's going to be one of those days. Like last week, I played Justin Fields in a league, and it's just like super demoralizing. Still should have won, but fuck, whatever. I ain't going to talk about it. Obviously, that was one, but that's how Thursday nights can be, man. They can get weird. And we've seen some really like weird high-scoring games and some really weird shit games. So that's the fun part about Thursday night is you never really know what you're going to get on these, and more often than not, it's not a good game, like actually good football. But hey, we can hope for fantasy purposes and DFS purposes that they're going to get us to where we need to be there. So let's recap. I don't want to recap mine because I am absolutely fucking disgusted by my Packers. But Jacoby for you, man, and obviously in my other half of that, man, I had that ladder up to 80. It was, dude, that's ridiculous. They didn't even look at Adams, bro. It was wild. The only time Adams got that target was up against Preston Smith. What the fuck, dude?
Yeah, probably the funniest play of the game, right? If Preston Smith, he reaches his hand out, he's like, what am I even supposed to do?
Trying to jam him, bro. Like you're trying to jam him. Like he hasn't gone against so much superior athleticism than Preston Smith in getting off the line. People always try to jam Adams too, and I'm like, what are you doing, bro? So that obviously was easy cash. I am so disgusted by the entire second half of that game. Again, temper expectations to what I expected to actually happen this year. I wish they didn't play the Bears first week because then everything just got hyped up, you know. But, dude, it was just like I don't understand LaFleur at all. I truly don't. I really hope his ass is fucking grass, man. I hope he's the head coach and he doesn't get to call plays. Because how are you doing what we're doing here, chucking the ball 30 yards on the field? We don't need that shit, bro. We don't need that shit. I also don't need to see A.J. Dillon run the ball 500 times into the back of guys and just keep doing it. We don't have the same offensive line we did before. We have a good pass blocking offensive line, but we don't have a great run block offensive line. But how does Romeo Doubs have one catch? How does Jaden Reed have one catch? Dude's just trying to chuck balls down the field to Watson in double coverage, bro. Run some goddamn short routes. It ain't that hard. I think the biggest this is what my rant. This will be my rant of the day. Obviously, the Packers were on a slate, so obviously I'm gonna have my rant of the day. How can this man work with Shanahan and McDaniels for how long, be in the same conversation, and be ass and be absolutely garbage? This dude's play calling is absolutely garbage. He didn't even call plays the last 2 years. Aaron Rodgers called the goddamn plays. He didn't even call them. So this is your first chance of actually calling the plays, and you suck? You absolutely suck. How are you in the same conversation? I know he was with them in Washington, bro. Did Washington just take all of his talent away? This guy's ass.
Well, if he's really so bad, he'd still be the head coach of Washington. We would have found a way to hold on to the one terrible guy in the group. But yeah, no, that was weird. I mean, it looked like his game plan coming into the game was just run the ball and then play action deep shots, right? And once it didn't work in the first quarter, he just didn't change. He was like, we're just going to do this for the rest of the game. And it doesn't matter. That's the game plan, right? It was weird. There's no adjustment whatsoever. It's very clear. It was give the ball to A.J. Dillon to open up the deep shot. And it just kept not working, but they kept doing it every single drive. So yeah, the Dobbs one catch was insane. Obviously, I saw a lot of people betting on him. Thank God Christian Watson saved the gambling community that all had those.
I wish he didn't catch it, bro. Truly, I really did. I wish he didn't catch it because you take that out, bro. He had 9 yards. That's what I'm saying, dude. That's why I said I'm like, you're hoping for a deep shot. That's why I said you might as well just bet the longest reception because he is not going to do much. But yeah, let's just chuck it up in the double coverage just because our guy's fast, bro. Well, no shit. The corners are probably fast too. Like they're not going to be that much slower than Christian Watson here, but they just kept chucking up in double coverage. And if he couldn't find him, he just chucked it down to Luke Musgrave, bro. And he got like 2 yards a catch. So it's just like, oh my God, dude. It was so frustrating. Like I said, dude, before you can say head coach, bro, just because you want to be. I don't give a fuck. But don't call plays. Like, we don't even run motion, bro. There's like no motion in this offense. Like, at least give me some misdirection or something. Like, because you're running the same 2 plays. Run up the middle to the left, run up the middle to the right. Okay, let's put some motion in it so at least it doesn't look like the same thing. And we just keep doing the same shit. It was, oh my God.
To be fair, that's because in the old playbook, they would have Aaron Jones in motion, but he just wasn't there. So they're like, we'll just take all this out. Who cares?
That's what I'm saying. Like, you could have put, I mean, I'm not saying I came in here talking about Patrick Taylor. I'm like, dude, he can catch the ball. He can be your scat back, dude. Just put him into that position. You don't need to give him the ball in those plays. But even on those routes where Patrick Taylor went out for routes, Love like chucked it at the ground, threw it over his head. It was just really, really bad against a terrible defense. It's not like Vegas is good either. So, yeah, it's yeah, not happy. Not a happy camper here. But hey, again, tamper expectations with now a shit coach. He definitely fell down the tier to garbage. Him and Ron Rivera can hang out in the fucking Oscar the Grouch garbage can down there, bro. Go hang down there because they both fucking blow.
Yeah, maybe Ron can learn something from him, honestly. I don't think they're quite on the same tier yet, but I see.
Close, though. He's trying to get there. He's working hard. All right, Stu, I just had to get that out. I had to. It's early in the morning on these days. First time I've had an early morning show. I had to relive Jordan Love being fucking garbage, and hopefully LaFleur loses his job. So nothing too crazy, just that. So let's start looking at this game though. It's gonna be a little quicker than our normal show here. Obviously talking Thursday night football. Denver Broncos in Arrowhead tonight. Oh goodness gracious. Yeah, this is a spread that you'd expect. It moved up to 11. I did see 10.5 yesterday. Did you expect it to be bigger than that?
I did. I was thinking 12.5 minimum, 14 possibility, right? I think the wind and the weather is really what kept it from getting to that 2 touchdown mark, just because there's supposed to be, 19-mile-an-hour winds. There was supposed to be rain, but I read the report just before we got on here live, and it looks like the rain actually isn't really going to be affecting this game too much. So that's probably good news for the over. I think the over was at 50 at one point, and now it's down to 47. So clearly the sports books, Vegas, is taking into account the weather in this one. I think that's maybe what's keeping the line from being 2 touchdowns. Because in my head, if you ask me to set this, I'm going 13.5 or 14.
Yeah, and I mean, at least it's like a nice day though. Like it's like mid to upper 70s. True. Even at game times, it'd be 75 degrees. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be a little windy, but especially when it's a stadium that fucking big, I'm not usually as worried about the wind. It obviously will be a factor. But I think it's really only going to be on those deep shots. Like everybody thinks like the wind is going to affect, unless it's 50, like that one game where Josh Allen played the Patriots where it was like 50, where the ball literally would go everywhere. These guys are throwing tight enough spirals that ball is not going to break and go somewhere else.
For me, when I'm reading it, the thing I look at is you got to realize the weather people, it's 2 words: sustained winds and gusts of wind. You want to look for gusts of wind. Sustained winds is bad, right? The 20-mile-an-hour sustained winds means it's going to be all game. It's going to be constantly annoying. The report that is good news for props is the winds up to 20 miles an hour. And that's what I saw for this one. So I agree with you. I think it'll be a factor in this one, especially on the deep shots, right? I like a lot of deep shot guys. What's his name? Not Christian Watson, Justin Watson. There we go. The other Watson, Marvin Mims, guys like that. I like them, but they're only going to get 1 downfield shot, 2 downfield shots a game. So those are the guys that are most affected for me in this game when I look at the wind conditions.
All right, Stu. Then if we're sitting at 11, right? 11, and it's actually juiced on DraftKings to the Broncos at plus 11, minus 112 to minus 108 on the Chiefs side at minus 11. Is that the side you're going to, I'm assuming, or are you going to be touching that 47 that it's having at DraftKings right now?
I don't mind the 47 actually, to be honest, but I still think I got to go with the Chiefs. To me, this profile is the most just like the Bears game out of all the games they played this year. I know there's obviously the narrative of this team can't cover big spreads, but at the end of the day, it's like we have one of the best offenses in the league versus a historically bad defense, right? DVOA has this as one of the worst defenses they've ever seen since they started tracking that information. So for me, it's like I don't know how I can bet on the worst defense in the league against the best quarterback we've seen in a long time. So it's kind of as simple as that sometimes. Like my first instinct is definitely the Broncos. I think anytime you see a spread this big, you always want to go with the underdog, but I just don't think I can lay real American dollars on the Broncos in prime time tonight.
Broncos in prime time in Arrowhead, right? Like that's even just another thing on top of it. Maybe the elevation would get to the Chiefs, but they can't even get there now. But yeah, I think that if I'm leaning one, I like the over. I do like the over. Yeah. This Chiefs could score 40 on their own, like truly in this game. But hey, I'm rolling with Russ, baby. I love him. I'm gonna keep rolling with him. I'm gonna be again. Everybody talk shit on Russ and all this stuff, bro. But I don't think he's that bad. I truly don't think he's been that bad. And the dude puts up fantasy numbers. He puts up fantasy numbers to help you win games. So obviously those being the two sides. I gotta bring this up before we get into our picks. Have you seen the anytime touchdown scorer market for today already?
Not in depth. No, I haven't looked super close.
Bro, minus 160 for a one-legged Travis Kelce. Minus 160 for Isaiah Pacheco. Yeah. When have you seen lines that low on these? I get the defense is bad, man, but the Chiefs are the one team I don't ever want to bet anytime touchdowns because they have 19 different dudes who score touchdowns, and they're going to try and give an offensive lineman a touchdown in this game.
Yeah, no, you said that perfectly. Like minus money touchdowns against like with the Chiefs ever is kind of rough, but even as a guy that likes Pacheco, you barely see this guy cross minus 110. You know what I mean? Just because, like you said, this is such an unpredictable team. Nobody, and I mean nobody on gambling Twitter would be surprised if Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jerick McKinnon were both the touchdown scorers in the running back game this week. So, yeah, I don't love those at all. I'd much rather take on some of these long shots like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You can get up to like plus 500 right now, and we know is probably going to get garbage time run if that ends up happening. Yeah, how many backup tight ends have we seen score a touchdown for the Chiefs over the last couple of years?
Well, it's not even that. It's also this is the Thursday as well, right? So I mean, Pacheco's been getting bell cow work here last couple of weeks. You're coming off only 3-4 days rest. Sometimes you see those split up a little bit, right? You see a lot of those where you want to give them a little bit of a breather a little earlier in these games, especially in a game where you're expected to just blow these guys out.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I actually like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and he probably would be on my card in some way if we had lines up for him. But we unfortunately just have the touchdown stuff right now. So I like Clyde Edwards, not as a real life player. I drafted the guy in fantasy when he was a rookie, and he sucked. So I'll always hate him for that. But it's one of those things where the opportunity is there tonight.
All right, so before we get into it, I'm gonna play a little game with you. All right, on DraftKings, what do you think? Who do you think is the first person for anytime touchdown scores for the Broncos is first? Number two, what number down the list do you think he is? How many Chiefs do you think is ahead of him in it? I would love to hear if you can get close on this.
Well, I'm trying to think, is it even Javante's the obvious guess, but like he's injured, right? We have 3 running backs. So is it Jerry Jeudy? Is he number 1 to score a touchdown?
It's fucking McLaughlin, that little fucker.
Oh, boy.
At 200, bro. People hammering it. I'm like, dude, Javonte and him are same odds, bro. Like,
and so is he 4 Chiefs down then?
Try again.
5?
Try again.
6? I'm going the wrong way. 3?
No. You're going the right way.
What? I can't even think of 7 Chiefs that would be ahead of him.
Actually, let me look here. We
need
Dude, why is DraftKings fucking this up like that? They don't have it in. They don't have it in numbered order. Do you see that? You see that where it's like they have Jerick at 265, right? But they have him listed ahead of McLaughlin and these guys. So I think they're 4th down, but yeah, they're like 8th down the board. I'm like, what the fuck?
No, but isn't it weird? I've seen that before. It sucks. But isn't Javonte gonna play also, right? I know.
No, yeah, he practiced all week. He's fully healthy, ready to go. And he didn't play last week, so that actually kind of helps.
Yeah, I'm like the McLaughlin lover here. I got this guy at 800, right? I mean, I feel like I'm the OG and the bandwagon over here, but 200 isn't really a value price. I know he's obviously got the first touchdown in each of like the last 2 starts he's had or whatever, but I don't know, man. It's one of those. He's like a slight upgrade to a scat back, right? He's better than that, but I mean, this isn't.
That's his role. Like you even saw him as a starter. He only have like 11 touches.
Yeah.
10 touches last week as a full-on starter, right? So I think Javonte needs to have a big game today. He has to. He's got to get that foothold back on this running back position because everybody's kind of talking about him being awful, which, I mean, doesn't help that the offensive line is not good, and you need a scat back to kind of get around these guys in time. But a guy like McLaughlin, man, he is so small. Like, he's good. He can't do the bell cow work, right? That's the tough part, right? So I think that we're going to see it split, but I still think you got to roll with Javonte as the top guy here, right? Or most confident one of all of these.
I would just say you can't start anyone confidently. Like, I really don't think you could put Javonte in your lineups comfortably. And I mean, I have him on a decent amount of best ball teams as well. Luckily, that makes the choice for me. And that's kind of why I avoided him in season long, right? The injury stuff lingers. We now see him back. But I don't know about you. I have a really hard time imagining they just throw him back to a full workload, especially he wasn't even getting that anyway before he got re-injured. So I'd have to imagine Javonte's probably around 11 carries with maybe 4 targets in addition. And I would say McLaughlin's probably around 7 carries with another 4 targets. So if you want to confidently start either of what you think those can produce, then I would say go for it. But I would say that's desperate, right? You're luckily in a rough place in fantasy. And for betting purposes, I just don't see much value on either side, to be honest.
Yeah, and the only thing that gave me a little confidence about rolling Javonte a little bit here is just he did get that practice in last week before the game on that Friday, and he was he was game time decision. So he was 50-50 up in the air on playing last week. Like, okay, we'll get him ready for Thursday. So yeah, those extra couple days probably help out a little bit. I think the odd man out probably is Pirine, right? Because I think Jaleel might just take over a third down back role anyway, right? So maybe Pirine just completely gets moved out because Jaleel's probably a better version. And Samaje can't run the goddamn football around. Again, we talked about it. If you're behind Joe Mixon, you suck.
So many fucking idiots were hyping this guy up in the offseason. It was ridiculous. And they kept pointing at the contract, too, of like, well, look, it's not like the Broncos have ever had a bad contract signing before, right? It's not like the Broncos have ever fucked up in free agency because, I mean, they just traded Randy Gregory away. They paid him $70 million. Samaje Perine sucks. And he's never carried the load more than 15 carries a game. People were drafting this guy in the offseason like he was going to take Javonte's job. He couldn't even take, like you said, Joe Mixon's job last year. I've never understood the love. He is nothing more than a third down back. And people trying to make him into some weird, great, stealing Javonte's job, that was never going to happen. I'm glad McLaughlin, like you said, he's the same guy. He's 5'8". He's a great pass blocker, and he's a pass catcher. He's going to take P. Ryan's job, not Javonte's job. So, yeah, do not play P. Ryan tonight.
All right, let's take a look at the chat here, and then it's picks time, boys and girls. Let's get it rolling. Plus Money Bob popping in here. We appreciate seeing you guys as well. Oh, man, what did he – that happened last year against Jefferson too. I don't remember what I was talking about at that point of that point in there. Joe Barry needs to go. Hey, they can go together, man. Open the door up and just hit it on your way out. Minus 160 is like old LT. Haven't seen an LT mentioned in here in a minute. So Peter bringing up McKinnon as well. I think we talked about it a little bit, Terrence, on the Denver workload for the backs there. But Joe liking that LT mention. We'd love to see it. I mean, people are going to be saying in 10 years, that's like what McCaffrey was at. I think McCaffrey's like minus 200 now. Minus 250.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think he's been over 200 each of the last 3 games, 100%, and maybe like 4 or 5. He might have been almost every game except the first game of the year, I want to say. So absolutely sad. I wonder what it will be against the Browns. If someone could check that for us while we start talking.
Yeah, at least it's a good defense. Like maybe it might be realistic, like minus 190. Maybe we'll get us up 200.
I mean, if it drops I think it's to minus 125. I might have to play a CMC touchdown if it
Dude,
can
there
get.
ain't no way it's getting to 25, bro. There's no way.
Yeah, the total's only okay. The only reason I mentioned this game is because earlier you said the Chiefs might score, like cover the total by themselves, right? And for me, that's what I thought when I looked at the 49ers game. I know they're playing the Browns. I know the Browns defense is good, but the total's 37. The 49ers have scored 37 in every game this year. You know what I mean? So that one kind of threw me off. So I was hoping since 37 total, maybe we get a good CMC touchdown line, but that's probably wishful thinking.
All right, Stu. Picks time. Let's get it moving.
Yeah, this is a half unit spot, by the way. Just want to clarify that real quick. Jerick McKinnon under 9.5 rushing yards, a number that he has not cleared all season long. And I had my write-up ready to go, and I pulled up on the before the show, I pulled up Pacheco's receiving yards instead, and I was looking at that. I was like, holy shit, he had 43 yards earlier this year. Then I realized
broken coverage, though. I know exactly what play that was. It was a broken coverage on a throwback against the Jets, I think.
Yeah, but I realized I was looking at the right spot or wrong spot. Got back on the McKinnon page and felt a lot better. I was real worried. I had a real shitty idea for a second right there. But I mean, this is one I'm kind of pissed I didn't play it last week. It's been on my mind for the last couple weeks. McKinnon has such an insanely consistent role on this team. His snap share has not changed all year, despite the game script, and his role has not changed all year, despite the game script. This is a guy that is out there to play 3rd and long and 2-minute drills, and occasionally in the red zone as well. He's a very good red zone option, but that's great news for us because we're betting under rushing yards right here. And if he gets any attempts in the red zone, it's most likely going to be 4 or 5 yard carry, very close to the end zone right there. McKinnon is a guy. I'm very high on him on best ball. It's probably one of my bigger whiffs of the year. But the thing I really want to talk about in this game, and I think this is applicable to any prop in this game, and I think it's very important of what we always talk about, of being on the same side as the coaching staff on here. Andy Reid is one of the most known coaches in the league for not bringing out his A-plus game plan, right? He is on record year after year after year saying we're playing for a Super Bowl, right? There's no reason that we need to bring out these crazy plays that you see at the end of the year to beat the Broncos and what's essentially a bye week this week, right? This is, I mean, no offense to Broncos fans. I have no faith in you whatsoever. And I think the Chiefs could beat you with their backups. I think Chad Henne could beat you guys.
Is he there still?
Right? I have no clue. That was just the first name that came to my mind.
That was good, yeah.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where we know they're not unleashed. Like Jerick McKinnon really came alive last year. If you look at it, it was the last 7 weeks of the year. The first half of the season, he did nothing. Absolutely nothing at all. And it was the same way when he first got brought over the year before that, where he only finally had a role in the postseason. And what they love to do with McKinnon is they love to creatively use him in the passing game, right? They love to creatively use him in the end zone. But beyond that, I see very little rushing attempts. He had one last game. It was for 7 yards, and it was at the very end of the game. If anyone was watching, it was that garbage time 3rd down where they just handed it off. And they were kind of expecting a pass on that play because it was like 3rd and 10 or whatever. And he got like a nice 7-yard run. Those are the only kind of carries he's going to get, are those misdirection, we think it's a passing play, and they're running on 3rd and long kind of carries. That's not a high-value touch whatsoever. I know this is a bad defense. I know this is extremely scary, right? But this is a guy that he's not going to touch the ball more than 3 times. He doesn't have he's not going to carry the ball more than 3 times. He has no more than 3 carries all this year. 1 carry last game. He had 2 in that Bears game earlier this year. Like I said, that's, in my opinion, the most similar to this one. I would not be shocked if McKinnon did not play the 4th quarter as well. I would not be shocked if Clyde Edwards-Helaire pretty much has that on wraps. So I know the defense on the other side is very bad, obviously, but that's not really the handicap here. I don't think he's even going to have opportunity to carry the ball, right? If 1 or 2 carries, doesn't really matter how bad that defense is. So for me, I still like him in the receiving game. I think McKinnon's a fine choice, but remember, never cleared 40% snaps so far this season. Doesn't have more than 3 carries so far this season. It's not like he's been an impressive rusher when he's had the opportunity, 3 yards per attempt, and that was boosted up by that 7-yard run I told you. It was 2.2 before he got that last week in garbage time as well. So for me, I like McKinnon a lot. I know this can be a little bit scary right here, but this is an ugly game, and sometimes you got to play some ugly props, and I think this one actually has a pretty good chance of hitting.
Yeah, we just seen the emergence of Helaire, right? We just seen him getting those touches that McKinnon was getting, right, last year, and like those 4 to 6 carries a game, right? That's now Helaire. but obviously McKinnon's locked into those rushing yards. The only way this loses right here is if Mahomes throws a backwards pass to him and it counts as a rush, and then he goes off. That's the only way. And I'm knocking on wood right now because that shit can't happen now that I brought it up. But that's literally the only way because I've literally watched these Chiefs games because I told you. My fiance likes the Chiefs. I get to watch their games and I get to watch. And I haven't seen McKinnon out there running because she has him on her fantasy team, and it's like, oh God, put McKinnon in, please, just so we can get some points here. So, yeah, definitely a spot that we haven't seen him getting much carries at all. So I'm going with the whole pack of Badgers. Russell Wilson, baby, over 240.5, only on FanDuel, 243 everywhere else. Actually, really like this prop here for Russ. Just going off these numbers for prior quarterbacks against the Chiefs here. We had Trevor Lawrence get 239 in that game where he played absolutely like trash. You had Justin Fields not hit it where he didn't play the last, 2-3 drives, but still had 50 rushing yards on these guys. And that's something important that I wanted to talk about there. Obviously, Goff hit it in week 1. But Zach Wilson, the guy who Sue doesn't like, hit this number, 245 passing yards on just passing yards, but still almost 25 yards rushing, right? That's important. That only need 200 from Russ because he's actually been breaking these big plays because Russ doesn't have many designed runs. He's not going to have designed runs, but this guy, with how bad this offensive line is running for his life, man. He really is. And we've seen him last week with a 20-yard carry. We've had him 3 games this year with a 10-plus yard carry. And I don't need anything crazy, right? We just need to get, 10 yards, 10, 15 yards on the ground. I think he crushes it over the air here as well. I do like to talk about the air yards as well for his receivers. You look at air yards per reception, right? Cortland Sutton at 14.5. Marvin Mims is at 24.5, right? Like he has rolls down the field, right? You have that Brandon Johnson, obviously not the best, only 8 catches, but still, you look at his air yards per reception, that's at 14, and Jerry Jeudy's at 19, right? So it's like they're making big plays happen here, and I think that having McLaughlin, I think that having Javonte there just as a safety valve will definitely help out. Both of those guys, obviously good yak guys, where if there is pressure, hopefully he gets it out and lets those guys do their thing after. So I like all of these dudes. You look at Russ on the year, right, for passing yards, he's actually hit this on strictly passing yards twice and hit this number against the Jets, which is a very formidable front 7, right, which is a spot I did not expect to because he had 49 rushing yards on a line that could get pressure on him. So I think we could see some rushing yards upside here. And I think that it's not – the rushing yard line is not high enough for me to like avoid putting it in with passing because obviously when you got Marvin Mims, you got Jerry Jeudy, big plays waiting to happen. Just need one busted coverage, and we saw it last week. Jordan Love probably played the worst game of football I've ever seen in my life, and he still had 185 passing yards because he threw a 70-yard bomb, right? And that just flips everything there. So I really like Russ here, and he should see himself down early. I don't really see a way this Broncos team stops the Chiefs, right? And they can just pour up points quick. Those drives are going to go quick, and Russ is going to have the ball hopefully for a long time here tonight and making things happen. I really like him, and I'm probably going to be I'll be talking about the rest of them, Jeudy and a couple other guys here in a second.
Yeah, no, I like the spot a lot. I'll keep it quick and concise. I mean, you can't really trust who Russ is going to target because over the course of his whole career, he's targeted everyone, right? He's the guy that is consistently not locking onto his first read. He's looking for everyone, which makes it hard to decide between these wide receivers. But we can all agree they're going to be trailing. And I actually really like that rush yards angle. I don't know why I didn't think about that much. If you watch last game, he not only was mobile, he looked good as a runner. Yeah. And that's kind of been the case this year. Last year, he looked a little bit like a statue. And I don't know what the difference has been since this year, but he looks much more mobile, and especially in the pocket. So I do like that rush yards. I think that's very sneaky. And I think this is the best way to play the Broncos side, to be completely honest.
Yeah. And the nice thing is, and we talk about this on the Vikings usually specifically, is these targets, man, they're pretty concentrated, right? Like we don't have anything too crazy. Like you don't have like the Chiefs, right? If you try, like this is the worst part about DFS is when you try to play the Chiefs, it's Kelsey. Those are the only guys you can play in the receiving game because Mahomes spreads it out so much. I'm looking at it right now. They have 4 receivers that have a catch this year, 4 total receivers. And then you go into like Dolchich, who I think is hurt. and then Troutman, who's now the one. What the fuck? Like, who would have thought that would be their number one tight end? That's what I'm saying, right? It's pretty concentrated, but all those guys have big play upside. You have Cortland Sutton again, who's a great 50-50 guy. So he's got weapons here. Obviously, I'm not too high on them winning this game or really competing. But hey, if they can keep it within 21, Russ will stay out there, which that's all I want. I just want him in the game, being behind. And the funny part is he really hasn't had that many pass attempts in these games, right? And he really hasn't needed to, because even against Washington where they lost, right? He had 32 pass attempts, 35-33, right? 56 rushing yards, though, right? He had 56 on those guys, right? Against Vegas, obviously really, really bad defense, but obviously shoved down the Packers. Don't want to talk about it. Only 34 pass attempts, right? Like, if he gets pushed up to 40, right, we might be getting something here.
No, I completely agree. I like this spot a lot, actually. I'm kind of pissed off I didn't think of it, you know?
All right, let's take our quick left turn. We got to get some stuff in and out of here for you guys. Let's talk about fantasy conundrum of the week. I think I'm the only one here. And talking about the Denver Broncos side, I will be talking about Jerry Jeudy. I have Jerry Jeudy on this team and Quentin Johnston. Obviously, these are not my normal starters. This is on my number one fantasy team. Justin Jefferson has left me very, very broken in that flex position. Now, obviously, Nico and Chris Olave get moved up to 1 and 2. Now I'm fighting in that flex spot. Jerry Jeudy, Quentin Johnston. I do have Antonio Gibson, but I'm not touching him with a 10-foot pole anymore. He had 1 week to shine. He did his job. Now he's out. That's what a team player does. Stu, what's your thoughts here? Am I overthinking this just because of the spread? Am I overthinking this there? But huge total in that Chargers game.
Yeah, I think you got to go Jeudy. And for me, the thing, I thought Jeudy might get shadowed by L'Jarius Sneed this week, but most experts I'm reading are saying that that's actually going to be Cortland Sutton, which means he should get the better matchup over the middle in this one, which is always good news. Quentin Johnston's just not someone I trust. I hear people consistently talking this guy up. I haven't seen it. For me, he was the biggest, kind of what if prospect in the draft, right? I watch all these wide receivers a lot. I love the draft. I like to be right about the draft. And I like to have strong opinions on guys. And for me, he was the number one guy of this guy's impossible to evaluate. He doesn't catch the ball correctly. He doesn't high point a football. You can't do that as a deep ball. It's weird. They use him as a slot wide receiver, and he's such a weird route tree. I just haven't seen it develop. It's not like the team is comfortable with him yet. They're still playing Josh Palmer over him very easily. So I think it's Jeudy. Judy's a little bit uglier, but I think we both agree they're going to be trailing. They should be forced to throw a decent amount in this game. Quentin Johnston just doesn't have any guaranteed volume, and he could pop off. He could start to get better, but for 100% for me, he's going to be a guy that has to prove it to me before I play him in my lineup.
Yeah, no, I'm just fighting for upside, and Jeudy does have the upside. But yeah, that's what I have in there. It's just I fucking hate having Javonte and Jerry Jeudy on my same team in there. But again, Jerry Jeudy wouldn't be playing if I didn't have Jefferson on IR. So injuries make things happen, man. It's tough, but yeah, I don't know, bro. It's brutal, dude. You're 4-0 flying high, team cooking everybody, and all it takes is the number one guy on your team to get hurt. You know, our team looks like shit. I was projected 145 every single game, and now I'm projected 125 this week.
Yeah,
it's disgusting. So, all right, Jeudy. Stu, I'm gonna be real bad going into tomorrow's show, or I'm gonna be feeling pretty damn good. So. Rolling Javonte and Jerry Jeudy in that league there. So we got to get to our fantasy guys for the week before we get out of here, guys. 35 minutes in, 30 of you in here still at our early time. Hit that like button for us. We really appreciate it. And let's go some DFS, some DraftKings DFS. We are rolling in the dumpsters here for some low end guys. We're fighting in that garbage position that is tight end. Stu, why are we talking about Logan Thomas today?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Logan Thomas coming off double-digit targets is not regular, right? But we saw him very involved last week. And for me, it's pretty simple. The Atlanta Falcons, good rush defense. They're a clear pass funnel team, right? They're the 7th best rush defense via DVOA. They're also the number one receiving defense against running backs DVOA, which means they really limit those running backs very well, but they funneled a shit ton of targets over the middle. It's the same exact reason. Actually, both of us were on Dalton Schultz last week, despite the fact that he did nothing previous to that. It's because the Falcons are funneling all these targets over the middle to tight ends. We've seen tight ends absolutely gash them so far. Your guy Musgrave earlier this year, another one on that list. Logan Thomas is very involved. And guess what? Sam Howell has been eyed into the tight end position since his first day of training camp. It was Cole Turner at the time, a little bit of John Bates in the preseason. I watched all those games. Howell loves throwing over the middle. He loves locking in on his tight end. And Logan Thomas is clearly that guy in this offense since he's been healthy. So for me, he's got a good snap share. It's only rising. He's back and healthy. Very easy plug and play. I think Terry McLaurin has a really hard time. And we've shown Sam Howell, they're going to let him chuck it. He blew off freaking 50 times last week. So I like the low-end Washington guys this week. I like Logan Thomas. I like Curtis Samuel right over the middle, baby.
Yeah, and your low-end cooked last week. Obviously, Jeter Downs did fantastic. So that's obviously coming in on a good note for sure. I'm going to be going Evan Ingram. He had a first week of the year against these guys. Had 5 catches on 5 targets, 49 yards, which – in this day and age, is fantastic for tight ends, man. If you give me 10 points as a tight end, you're at the top end, right? There's not many good tight ends out there. I love the air yards, only at 5. He just gets those underneath. He's getting almost 6 yards of yak per catch, though, which is fantastic. But also 5 catches for 49 on 5 targets. Every single game after week 1, he's had 8 targets in those games. He's consistently the underneath safety blanket for Trevor Lawrence. I don't think they're going to be able to run the football very well in this game. And that just leads me straight to who's their underneath guy, right? And that's going to be Evan Ingram. They've been running a lot of design plays with him out of the backfield, which I think is awesome. They're switching things up like that. It's something I really like to see. But also, let's look at the Colts, dude. They gave up 34 receiving yards to Schultz, 27 to Brevin Jordan in their games against the Texans, right? Obviously, Brevin Jordan and those guys are not anywhere close to Evan Ingram, right? That's disgusting, right? Mark Andrews, 5 catches. Tyler Higbee, who we have not talked about at all this year, had a hell of a day against these guys in a spot where Puka Nacua, again, just got 27 targets or whatever it was. But he had 11 targets, 5 catches, 64 yards in there, right? So if we get 11, right, we get double digits at 4,500. You're getting that little fire flame next to me, and I'm excited to see that pop off there. So hopefully we can get another 8-target game and see Evan Ingram go off a little bit here.
Yeah, and this is a good rush defense as well, right? Obviously, you got DeForest Buckner, you got Zaire Franklin. Can you hear me? My camera's gone on my. Oh, there we go. Is that okay? Whatever.
I hear you. I just couldn't, like your face stopped, but I could hear you.
Yeah. Okay. We're back now. But yeah, they're obviously a good rush defense on that side. And like you said, Evan Ingram has like the safest route tree of any tight end I've seen, especially a good tight end. He is consistently that safety blanket. I think he is the best definition of a safety blanket for a quarterback and tight end right now in the league. Obviously has that chemistry. And this is a team that runs more zone than anyone else. He's great at just finding those little spots in the zone, getting those catches, moving the lines. And I like the Jags in this game. So I definitely like Ingram. And I'll be talking about one in a sec on my high-end guy.
Yep. I'm perfect transition. Worked really well here. So take it away.
Yeah, no, we rarely kind of are on the same page with these kind of game stacks, but I kind of even like both sides. I like Ridley. I might even start a couple Gardner Minshew lineups because I think they might be trailing and forced to throw a little bit more in this game. But I like Calvin Ridley, a guy. I think he's both underpriced in the DFS and the prop market so far. I saw he opened at 56.5 receiving yards, which seemed a little disrespectful, right? I already cashed this number against him earlier in the year. What do we say about this Colts team? A lot of zone, right? He is very good at finding those little creeks in the zone, moving the chains, keeping the offense going. I think the Jaguars are a little bit, I don't know. I think they're an interesting team. I've been down on them more than most people so far this year, but I think this profiles is a very good matchup for them. They've consistently kind of taken advantage of that defensive front from the Colts, and they don't really change. The Colts have been super consistent with their zone usage so far this year. So I think that opens up a lot of value for Ridley, someone I'm going to be getting to a lot this week.
Yeah, and I wouldn't like default and locked Cooper Kupp in and like probably going to be every single lineup I have. I just, whether I'm going to run him naked or I'm going to run him with Stafford and maybe bring him back with Higbee or something. But I just can't get away from this price tag now, right? Your number one option is going to be Tyreek. Everybody's going to want to play him. This offense has been historic. You lose A-Chain. Everybody wants to go with Tyreek. But Cooper Kupp, bro, You miss all that time. You come back and just casually put up, 8 for 120, right? In a decent matchup. We talked about how the Eagles were a good matchup in the slot, but I don't know. Did anybody just forget what happened with Jamar Chase, bro? Like, Jamar Chase did nothing all year, dude. Nothing. And then pops off for 150, 18 catches, whatever the hell it was, and 3 touchdowns, right? Broke every slate. You played him last week, you lost. And now you're going to have Cooper Kupp, who, when he was out there, it was immediately him, dude. It was his targets, right? It was, if he's not open, we go to Puka. But it was never, we're looking at Puka and then going to Kupp. It was always Kupp doing those inseam routes, always open. His routes are so crisp. And dude is open on everything. Everything. Didn't matter if it was those underneath crossings. So many deep routes, though. He was getting air yards. And I'm not used to it like that to that extent. Right. I don't know. I'm assuming you probably watched a little bit of that game because we had those guys. We had Cooper Kupp in there as one of our plays. But Cooper Kupp's area yards before contact, 8.3. Yards per reception was 15, right? That is not something that I was expecting to see, in 17 air yards per on those. So I'm excited. I'm going to be going right back to it. Obviously, $9K. You can pay down with Stafford, and he is cheap. He is very cheap for what his upside is here. So that can be a little bit on that savings, and there's a lot of really cheap defenses as well. Or you can throw some Evan Ingram in there and save some money. Because only 4,500 on those or 3,500 on Thomas will definitely negate some of that price.
No, I agree. You can pay up on this slate. There's plenty of opportunity to pay up, especially Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson. Those guys missed the slate being in London in the morning, so you're not going to have them on it. There's options to pay up here, and I think Kupp is a great one. I think people still might be a little scared just because he's coming back from injury. Hopefully that depreciates the ownership just a little bit. We don't want the whole world playing Cooper Kupp, but I agree. Great spot this week. It sucks, but I'm probably going to have to go back to Matthew Stafford after he kicked my ass last week.
Well, it also doesn't hurt that I don't think the Cardinals are going to be able to run the clock for 8-minute drives with Emery D. Mercado. I don't think that's going to be as effective as the Jalen Hurts 8-minute run game there. So luckily they might have the ball for a little bit longer there. So let's do a quick recap here, Stu, of our picks. I know there's still 30 of you guys in here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in early with us. We really appreciate that. And let's do a recap of our picks and get us out of here. We got to have that hard deadline, so I want to make sure we get out of here and get you where we need you to be.
Sounds good. We're going a little risky. We're going Jerick McKinnon under 9.5 rush yards, playing that for a half unit, -115, BetMGM, Barstool, DraftKings.
Awesome. We got Russell Wilson over 240 passing plus rushing yards on FanDuel exclusively, 243 everywhere else. But thank you guys for tuning in. Obviously, we'll be back tomorrow for our normal time. But obviously, with all this news and injuries and stuff, and stuff pops up, we moved it to today. So we'll have back-to-back days. You'll be seeing us back-to-back days. If you guys do have any of those fantasy conundrums, any questions, DFS, fantasy, drop them in the comments after the show. We really appreciate that when we get all your guys' involvement. We always love to see that. So we'll be back tomorrow, noon, for our big show. Guests on that show as well. Stu, what do you got for the people before we head out of here?
Yeah, I mean, this game for me, I'll probably sprinkle in some long shots. I'll just shout those out real quick. I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire to score the last touchdown. You can bet first touchdown and last touchdown now if he's going to be in, right? Why would I bet? I'm going to bet 500 at any time touchdown score, but I think we're all projecting him to be the garbage time guy. So why not take like 18-1, 20-1, whatever it is? I haven't checked yet, but I thought of that on the show and I love it. So I'm going to be playing last touchdown for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I don't know why you're shaking your head. This is genius.
I'm shaking your head because you got Russell Wilson on that side. Yeah, King of Hail Marys, bro. Yeah. Clyde Edwards-Helaire scores a touchdown with a minute left. Stu's over there like this, counting that cash. He's on the 50-yard line. Russell Wilson throws that Hail Mary. Jerry Jeudy catches it in the back corner because this man is a Hail Mary king. So if
that happens, I won't be on the show tomorrow. I'll tell you that. If I'm chasing that cash right for the Clyde Edwards-Helaire, there won't be a show. I'll be somewhere else. You won't be able to.
I'm telling you right now, this is going to happen. Clyde Edwards-Helaire will score with 1 minute left, and I'm gonna see Stu send me something and be like, I'm just gonna be like, hey, Hold that back. You got Russell Wilson, bro. You got Adam Troutman in the back of the end zone on a tip ball. I'm just feeling that. I'm feeling that Hail Mary. Pump up those Russ stats, right? Russ loves doing that. He loves bumping those stats up at the end of the games. And I'm telling you, dude, Clyde Edwards, a minute left.
Even if it cashes the Russ prop, it won't be enough money for me tailing you to make up for the long shot. So I still wouldn't be happy right there. And the final one to say, I know everyone's asking about Marvin Mims. For me, why would you play him minus 135 at 17.5 receiving yards when you can just play him at 25 for plus money at plus 150 or whatever it is? This is a guy, if he catches the ball, it's going to be a bomb. You said it, 24 air yards per attempt. The guy's got like a 28 odd. Just bet the alt lines. I don't want to pay any juice for this guy. I don't want to pay anything, even money or worse, right? Play the ladder, sprinkle the long shots. That's what I'm going to be doing because I like Marvin Mims. I want to root for him, but I also know it's a distinct possibility he gets one target. Also, I'm going to be doing the same for Brandon Johnson. I don't know why. I keep seeing his name and wanted to bet it. It's only like 10 yards. That was almost my show play. I don't even know why. I literally have I know he's going to get a 25-yard catch. So I got to play both of them for 25 yards. Hopefully Russ, is slinging the rock out there, and they cash my plus money spots tonight.
Did you see this? Did you see this thing here, Stu? Did you ever see that meme with Dave Chappelle, bro? I'm hearing betting on Brandon Johnson in prime time. It's fucking me itching that shit.
Yeah. See, I'd rather do that, though, than have thousands of dollars on the line in this game, right? When you have a game that fucking sucks on prime time, sometimes you just want a couple long shots to sit back and have fun and watch. And finally, we got to get the fuck out of here. But Freddie, we talked about that at the beginning of the show. The most updated weather report doesn't say consistent 20 mile an hour. It just says gust up to 20 mile an hour. And the storm stuff I've read said it's not going to be that bad, maybe even no rain. So
I haven't even seen any rain. I just checked. I'm looking at it right now.
So weather's always a factor, but remember, rain hurts the offense. It also hurts the defense.
Yep. Thank you, guys. We appreciate you. Got to get out of here. Hit that like button on your way out. We'll be back at noon tomorrow. Going to be a big show, so make sure you have that notification bell on. It's going to be a fun one. So have a good one, guys. Best of luck, and please enjoy as much as you can this awful football game tonight. So thank you, guys. Have a good one.